Entitled golfer blocks my way to go home while screaming at me to go home. From user Cryptic Fire. After that, my feathery bodyguard gets revenge on entitled parent. From user Nessie Bird. After that, entitled mom trying to cut the queue at checkout counter by being an abusive and lying person. From user NewfishDD. After that, entitled Parents Country Club Wannabes. From user Pixie Arrow. Thank you so much to our posters for letting us read your stories. And if you would like us to read your stories next, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And if you're new, please subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories every single day. And for every thumbs up this video gets, one entitled parent will get kicked out of the country club. Entitled golfer blocks my way to go home while screaming at me to go home. This happened a while back when I had foot surgery. I live on a golf course, and there is a path that golfers use to get to different holes, like every golf course. Part of the path is 20 feet from my house. My friend was coming back from the gym, which is approximately 500 feet from my house. She was coming over for a visit. There are two paths, and one goes the opposite direction, so she chose the wrong one. She called me saying she was lost, so I decided to come outside to see where she was and meet her halfway on the path to my house, since I was on crutches at the time. So she finally sees me and comes to me. We both made sure we were out of the way of any golf carts that needed to get by. Demon Spawn starts angrily walking up to us, and here is how the conversation goes. Cast. We've got entitled golfer. We've got me, and we've got my friend. Entitled golfer. What the heck do you think you're doing walking on my golf course? I look at her like she must be confused. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not sure if you understand that this is the neighborhood golf course, and I'm allowed to walk here just as much as you are. Entitled golfer clearly sees that I have a boot and I am on crutches and looks at my friend. Entitled golfer. What were you doing wandering over there, being in the way of the other golfers? Friend. I was lost. I've never taken this way to her house before, and I wasn't in the way. The only golfers could easily drive past me. They didn't seem to mind that I was there. Entitled golfer looks at me and says, Well, you two need to go back to where you belong and get off the path, because you can't be here on my course. I roll my eyes and start hobbling on back to my house, which was clearly not the way she wanted me to go. Hey, I told you to get off the dang golf course. Lady, my house is literally right there. I point to it. It was not even 50 feet from where we were standing. No, you can't go that way. You have to walk all the way around the neighborhood. That would probably take 2 hours, especially since I'm already in pain and sweating from the heat. It was also quite a distance because my neighborhood is big. Then you just drive home, you little jerks. It will only take a minute or two. I look at her like she's insane. You can clearly see that I can't drive because I just had a foot surgery. My friend. And my car is in the shop, so I don't have it with me. I walked here. Entitled golfer. Then call your dang parents. So me, being a smarty, pretend to call my dad, who is currently on base at Fort Belvoir. Of course he doesn't answer, because you can't have your phone on base. I leave a message and say, Hey Dad, I know you're currently doing PT with the other soldiers at Fort Belvoir, but I need you to come home so you can drive me home from the golf course that's behind our house. This lady won't let me walk 50 feet to our front door because I'm not allowed on her pathway. Okay, see you in about 2 hours. Thank you. Bye-bye. I look at entitled golfer and say, Okay, so he'll be here in about 2 hours. You're more than welcome to stay here with us until he comes. Entitled golfer gives me this angry look. I'm just as angry. My foot was hurting and I felt like I was about to pass out. Some of y'all might ask, Why didn't you just ignore her and keep walking? No, this jerk parked her golf cart in the way and stood in front of us, blocking our way back to my house. Entitled Golfer. Well, I'm not waiting here for 2 hours. That's ridiculous. Can't you see that? Her son. Is sweating from the heat? I need to take him home. So you understand why I'm trying to go home now. I need my medication as well. Entitled Golfer looks at my foot again to see I have a boot and it's bandaged up too. Entitled Golfer. I bet you're not even injured. You're just probably faking it for attention. Her kid tried pulling my crutch from me and says, Mommy, I want to play with the metal things. Why won't she let me? Me. Excuse me? You don't just get to assume crap about me. You don't even know me. And get your kid off me before I call the police. I started to try and walk around her, but it's hard walking in the mud and wet grass on crutches. She saw that I nearly fell. Okay, fine. Go home. But I never want to see your face again around here. Snaps a photo of me. If I see you again, I'm calling the police. Me. It's okay. I never want to see your ugly face again either. Go ahead, call the police. I have a right to be here since my family owns this property. At this point, I was in my backyard. I look at my friend and say, man, she is a nightmare, and she just laughs. To this day, I have never seen her by my house again. Next we've got, my feathery bodyguard gets revenge on entitled parent. So, I have 2 birds, a Major Mitchell's cockatoo and a crimson-bellied conure, as well as 2 dogs. My birds are harness trained, so I can safely take them outside. I normally walk my dogs together and then my birds, also separately, so normally I do 3 walks a day, weather permitting. Since it was a nice evening, I decided to take my birds, both of them out on a walk together, as I didn't feel like going on a 3rd walk. I normally walk them separately because they get jealous when one gets attention and not the other. My cockatoo is very skittish, and my conure is extremely chill on walks. This particular day, my conure was content to make a tent out of my hair once I put his flight suit, like a bird onesie and diaper all in one, and harness. My cockatoo was nervously excited, screaming, flapping, and talking away, happy to get outside, sitting on my hand, looking around at everything. Due to both of them being very attractive birds, I try to walk them when we hardly ever see anyone. My cockatoo hates everything and everyone with a passion, except me and my mom. Where I live in summer, it gets dark between 7 and 8:30 p.m., so it is easy to avoid people if I need, especially because I live in a quiet middle-class area with lots of families. So if I go at about 7 p.m. when most people eat, I won't usually see anyone. I am known in the area, and people usually respect my space when I have the birds. However, a lot of new properties have come on the market, so there are many new people around. I was walking back home from my usual bird walk route and walked down a huge flight of stairs. The sun was directly in my eyes, so I couldn't see the people at the bottom. My conure was sound asleep in my hair, and my cockatoo was looking around contently. When I got like 5/6 of the way down, I could see the family in the empty cement parking lot we have above the park. A man, 2 boys, about 5 and 7-ish riding bikes, and a woman. I was wearing a hoodie with one of those huge oversized hoods, so I put my cockatoo on my other shoulder and pulled the hood up. We do this tons at home, and she likes it. I walk slightly angled so my cockatoo doesn't see the bikes, kids, or the man. Then I hear the words I always dread. Kid 2. Mommy, look, a bird. That lady has a bird. They couldn't see my conure in my hair. Kid 1. Pretty, pretty birdie. I smile and wave, but keep walking at the same time. At this stage, my conure has heard voices and wants eyes on any potential danger, so creeps up to under my chin on the collar of my hoodie. My conure is very protective of me and attacks anyone that he senses is not good/angry or is just a man. He just doesn't like men. My cockatoo does similarly, but doesn't bite, just screams bloody murder and lunges when they get close. I hear running footsteps and, thinking it is one of the kids, walk slightly faster, hoping to discourage any interactions with them. This is when I hear the ahem. I keep walking. Then my cockatoo screams, and she had tapped the side of my hoodie my cockatoo was on. My cockatoo freaks the heck out, flapping to the ground screaming. My conure has moved down my arm to my forearm, nattering angrily as I pick up my cockatoo and start soothing her. I look around and see entitled mom. Her kids are halfway between us and their dad, who promptly, thank heck, called them back. "What the heck is wrong with you?" I hiss, not wanting to spook my cockatoo further. "My kids and I want to pet your birds," she says, pointing at my cockatoo. "Look, lady, I take it you have never done this before, but birds are not dogs. They are extremely skittish and particular. Plus, my birds bite. So no. I have a kangaroo pouch on my hoodie just for cases where my cockatoo or my conure gets spooked and I slip her in. So I grab my conure that had puffed up and is swaying aggressively from side to side looking at entitled mom. I put him on my shoulder, outside the hoodie, so he doesn't bite my ears. He does that when he gets mad sometimes, even if it's not at me. Bullcrap. They are wearing leads. They are obviously tame. She turns and goes to call out to the kids, I assume, but I cut her off. No, these birds are tame, but only to me. They will attack you. Leave me alone. I go to turn and the lady grabs my arm. This is when my conure had had enough. He was a small, fist-sized ball of furry. He lunged for her hand and bit down hard. Entitled mom yelled. Luckily, my conure didn't hold on for long as she had yanked her hand away, one of her knuckles bleeding. Not much, but it was bleeding. "Don't touch me or my animals." "How dare you? You are going to hear from the police. Wait until I talk to your parents." I am a 22-year-old female, and I look about 16 to 17. I hate my baby face. "Listen up, you disgusting human disease. I am 22. You won't be talking to my parents. But my cousin, the city I live in, city police lieutenant. Don't touch me or my animals again." I stormed off. I didn't want to see her expression or listen to any more BS. Safe to say, my birds and I will just be chilling outside in our backyard for a while. This isn't the first time I have encountered ignorant people when it comes to my birds or my dogs, but it was the most extreme. Next we've got entitled mom trying to cut the queue at checkout counter by being an abusive and lying person. A little background. I work and live in Dubai, and most of the time I shop from Carrefour, close to my apartment in here. That's the closest thing to Walmart here. I've seen Carrefour in France as well. Since close to 90% of the people living here are expats who work and live here, evening hours in the supermarkets and malls can get pretty crowded. This happened 3 weeks back. So I was getting some groceries on a Sunday evening after work. The queue for cashier in the evening was pretty long. Fun fact, Sunday we work here in UAE. Weekends are Friday and Saturday. Since I'm living alone and I hardly cook, I had around 14 items, which was mostly the snacks I indulged my evenings on. So I was there getting close to the cashier. There was just another guy in front of me with a shopping cart full of stuff, and I was on my phone talking to a friend. "Excuse me, mister." I heard someone talking to me to my left ear. I told my friend to hold and turned around. There was this entitled mom with a kid. Now this kid is not an entitled kid by any means. She was too young to even say anything. I told my friend on the phone that I'll call later since it wasn't anything important. Me. "Yes, ma'am." Entitled mom. You mind if we go before you? We are in a hurry. And entitled mom looks 40, points at the basket in her kid's hand. It's a small basket with some chocolate and a coloring book. So I look at the 8 or 9 people behind me in the line, and no one seems to have a problem judging from their face. Me. Sure, no problem. You can go ahead. Now entitled mom doesn't say thank you, which doesn't matter to me anyway. She cuts in the line. The guy currently at the checkout is swiping his card and cashier is bagging the stuff. Entitled mom suddenly turns around and waves her hand and starts yelling, "Entitled kid, come over here. Here!" Surprised as me, everyone in the checkout counter turned around only to see the entitled kid with a trolley full of stuff. Literally more than 100 different items for sure. Everyone in my line combined wouldn't have that much stuff to check out. Me. "Excuse me, miss. I was under the impression that you had 2 or 3 items to check out, but this is a bit too much, and I can see no one in the line would approve that. Most of us have been waiting here for over 15 minutes. "What are you saying? I was here before you." I was genuinely shocked. I was like, "What? No, you weren't." I was a bit confused, like maybe she was there and told me to hold the place or something and I didn't notice because I was on the phone. Now, already a couple of people are having big trolleys on the checkout counter, which is pretty narrow. It's 2 lines in the middle and 2 checkout counters on both sides kind of set up. So entitled kid, about 14, comes by pushing the cart through the line in a forced manner. Like literally, he was not giving a darn and doing it by force. So there is one bald guy. He was on his phone all the time. I thought he didn't care or he didn't even notice the whole thing. But he had just happened to stop the cart by holding it when entitled kid was trying to squeeze it past him. Bald guy. "You're not gonna cut the line. Not today." Entitled kid. "Mom, this jerk is stopping me." Now the entitled mom storms past me and goes to the bald guy. "Who the heck do you think you are?" Bald guy. "Look, these people are nice. Might let you get away with your BS. But I'm not gonna let it happen. And you need to teach your little jerk some manners." "I was in the queue ahead, jerk. And don't you dare preach to me on parenting." "No, you weren't." "Ask that guy." Me. "No, you weren't. You happened to trick us into thinking you got 2 items to cut the queue. Then you're being a really jerky person about it." This time, I was sure that she wasn't in the line before me by just looking at her face. It was literally the face of someone who thinks themselves as, "I am so smart. The rest of these people are stupid, so I can get away with anything." Entitled mom. "I was there before you, jerk. Weren't you staring at my butt, pretending to be on the phone all the time?" Me. "Now that's it. You're not gonna get on this queue or any queue today without waiting your turn, jerk." I would have stared at a pack of sour candy instead of her butt, and I hate those candies. I really wish that I could have come up with this line there at the moment. So we hold the queue and call the manager. To my surprise, everyone else was calm and supportive. And one guy actually said, like, maybe it would have been much quicker if we let her first. But let's wait and get this crazy woman sorted out. After a few minutes, the manager shows up. Manager. "What's the problem?" Entitled mom. "I was on the queue first, and these 2 are not letting my kid through." Pointing at me and the bald guy. Another guy in the queue. "BS. She was cutting the line, saying she had only 2 items, and her kid showed up later with a truckload." Manager just looks at everyone to see that they nod and confirm his words. Manager then asks the cashier, and she confirms the same. Entitled mom. "These people are lying." Manager. "It's safe to assume that you were cutting the queue, then assuming everyone else is lying, ma'am. So you have to step out of the queue and start in the end of any queue." "BS." She turns to me. "You little liar." And she tried to grab my phone. Maybe to break it? I don't know. I withdraw my phone and hand out of reflex. Manager. That's it. You are done in here. We don't want you in here anymore. Apparently, they can ban customers inside a store. So Entitled Mom was removed immediately by the security, and the manager apologized to everyone for the trouble. The whole thing took about 20 minutes of everyone's time, and that was it. And our final story of the day, Entitled Parents Country Club Wannabes. A little backstory. My family and I are originally from New Jersey. My parents retired to Florida. I live in Texas for part of the year, and in Florida with them the other part of the year. The house in Florida is located inside a golf and country club villa association. There is a country club, and although living there automatically means you can apply for membership, you still have to pay for it to belong. The club has 2 pools, 2 golf courses, a bar, a restaurant, snack bar, driving range, gym, etc. So we do use the membership at the club. Last summer, we spent a majority of the days out at the pool. The family pool is the larger one, Olympic-sized with swimming lanes, up to 10 feet deep and heated. There's another one for adults, but it's not as deep and it's not heated. We prefer the larger pool because we like the deep end and we like to swim laps. The larger one also has a small covered area with 2 tables. We are very fair and like to protect ourselves from the sun. Now, during the summer it is usually pretty quiet because all of the snowbirds are back in the north. They are usually only in residence from the end of October until the beginning of April. So we usually enjoyed having the pool to ourselves or sharing with a couple of neighbors that we had made friends with. But then, about midsummer, the obnoxious family arrived. They were very obviously from Brooklyn. I know that accent anywhere. It was the entitled grandmother and grandfather, their entitled daughter, who appeared to be in her younger 30s, and her entitled devil spawn, about 6 to 7 I would guess. The irony is that his name actually means an angel. Now these people only had one volume, obnoxiously loud. They would scream at their kid from across the pool instead of getting up. They would just scream his name over and over while he kept misbehaving. They would yell at him to get out, and he would scream, "No!" from the middle of the pool. His mother would talk on her cell phone all the time, telling everyone just how important she is. And of course, she would threaten to call the devil spawn's father, who wasn't with her anymore. I think it was self-preservation on his part. These people thought the rules did not apply to them. They brought their own alcoholic beverages and food with them. The kid had large rafts in the water. The kid also jumped into the pool right onto people in the pool. He urinated into the pool. He vomited into the pool. They would throw their garbage over the pool fence. They would just be generally obnoxious to the point that people just started leaving the area. And now that brings us to the last interaction when I finally had enough. It was this past March. I guess the little devil spawn was on spring break. Mom and I decided to go to the pool and relax. We both had our books and looked forward to getting into the water. As soon as we got to our table, I realized that the entitled family was at the next table over. I told my mom we might not want to stay. She asked why, and I asked her if she recognized them. Then the mother screamed at the kid. Our cast. We've got me. We've got my mom. We've got devil spawn. We've got entitled grandmother, entitled grandfather, entitled mom, the snack bar employee, the board member, and my dad. Entitled mom. Spawn, get out of the pool. Spawn. No, I don't want to. Spawn, now. Entitled grandmother. Spawn. This goes on with all 3 of them yelling at him. Mom rolled her eyes at me, and I knew she remembered them now. So entitled mom gets up and decides to lay on a lounge chair on the deck between the pool and the table where entitled grandma and entitled grandpa sat. So now they are screaming back and forth at each other even louder. Spawn is splashing some other people who have tried to get into the pool to swim and has decided to try to climb on one of the older gentlemen that was in the deep end. Since it is the only pool that is heated, It's the only one that people can really use in March. It's still a little cool at night, and the water would be chilly. Little by little, between their yelling and Spawn being an absolute monster, people are getting sick of them and going to sit over at the other pool. I was trying to read my book, but their yelling was so bad that I couldn't even hear my mom talking to me right next to me. I read the same sentence 5 times and finally gave up. At that point, I stood up. I am leaving out the language they used as every other word. Me to my mom. That's it. I have had enough. I have read the same sentence 5 times and still don't know what was said. Plus, he has splashed me and my book several times. My mom, getting up as well. I know what you mean. This is ridiculous. Entitled Mom rolls over on her lounge chair and looks at me. So, you saying you got a problem with my kid? Me. Yes, but not as much as the problem I have with your general attitude and rudeness. All you do is scream at the top of your lungs at him instead of actually disciplining him, and you continue to allow him to wreck everyone's nice day at the pool. Plus, you are all so loud that we can't even talk to each other. Entitled Mom. How dare you try to tell me how to parent my kid? At this point, Entitled Grandma and Entitled Grandfather start in on us. Entitled Grandmother. If you have such a problem, you should go to the adults-only pool. That's what it's there for. I'm a board member, and we have every right to be here enjoying ourselves in a family pool. You should just take your fat butt over there. Oh, this whale has no room to talk. Her butt actually blocks the sun. Entitled Grandfather. You can just get the heck out of here and mind your own business. So now, thoroughly ticked off, Mom and I went to the other pool, where we found everyone else they managed to chase off that day, close to 20 people. She had been telling them all that she was a board member and that she was going to have them kicked out. In our haste to leave, Mom had forgotten her towel on the chair, so we had the employee who was working the snack bar go get it for us. We told him everything that happened. When he went to get it, these people had taken it and thrown it over the fence onto the ground. We filed a complaint through him. They were not signed in on the pool log. When you enter the pool area, you're supposed to sign in on the log with your last name, address, and member number. They said he had other complaints about them that day, but nobody knew their names to report it. So when we got home, we got a hold of one of the board members. He and my dad see each other daily at the gym, and their lockers are right next to each other. We said that it wasn't right that a board member would be out there breaking the rules, but also bullying the other members. Come to find out, these people aren't even members, let alone on the board. Nobody has seen them this summer. Guess they were told you gotta pay that $500 per month if you want to be part of the club and use the pool. Good riddance. And shoutouts to our re-generals of the day, Chissy Spider, Nicholas, Audra, and Monster Murphy. Become tomorrow's re-generals by leaving as many re's as you can in the comments below.